What's up, everybody? Real with Omar, back for a special real estate edition today. But before I get into it, I want to say something. A lot of people have been asking for certain things. They'd like to see certain things. Do me a favor. I think comment on YouTube or I believe Spotify or Apple iTunes. YouTube is the fastest way to get to me to see it. We get notified immediately. So if you want to see somebody or you want me to speak about something in particular, please do that. All right, back to what I was saying. Real with Omar Real Estate Edition. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Anthony Domathoti. He's the owner of 2 EXIT Realty franchises, and he's the current serving HGAR president. Anthony, thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate that, Omar. Thanks for hosting me.
Absolutely.
What an honor.
So many questions. Where to start, Anthony? Where to start? First question, because I'm in real estate, I'm in finance, and I'm also in the real estate brokerage side. When did you get into real estate, and how did you get into real estate?
It was about, I'm going to date myself when I give out the number, but 25 years ago.
25 years ago, okay.
And I was a former school principal.
Really?
One of our parents, whose kids attend our school, called me and they said, "I think you should get your license."
Well, that was random, though,
It
right?
was random.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because I was selling a lot of things for the school.
right.
Raising money.
Fundraising?
You know?
Yeah.
So I got my license and I started working with him, you know.
Oh, with that parent?
With that parent.
Okay.
And he owned an exit brokerage. And
Okay.
I was the first exit agent for his office when he opened the brokerage.
This was in Long Island?
This was in Queens.
In Queens.
Flushing, Queens.
Flushing,
I cut my
Queens.
teeth in Flushing.
Okay.
Yes. And the interesting thing was that I quickly became a top producer in 2 years. And
Okay.
then I became an independent.
That quickly, 2 years?
Quickly, 2.5 years.
Okay.
And then I said, that's it, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore as
an agent or as a brokerage?
As a brokerage, and I want to just be independent and do my thing.
Okay.
2 or 3 years into it, exit was always in my blood, and they got back to me and they said, why don't you open a franchise? And I said, if I can open the franchise anywhere in the city, my pick was the Bronx.
Really? And what year is this?
That was 2007.
Okay.
And I just felt like it was super important for me to open in the Bronx because everyone said Bronx is the wild, wild west.
Right.
And then I
It's
said,
the last frontier.
last
That's what everybody
frontier,
talks about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I think Bronx is not burning. Bronx is bubbling. So
Right.
let's get into it. So we opened the office. A lot of naysayers, a lot of contradiction. However, here we are.
Okay.
And we opened it on Morris Park Avenue, which was heavily Italian,
Still is.
Still is.
Right,
And
right.
then we were the only non-European entity out there.
Okay.
And they said, you'll never survive here.
Really?
And famous last words. And still we are there. We are one of the iconic brokerages on Morris
In
Park
that same location?
Same location. Hasn't changed.
Since 07.
07.
Wow.
And we believe that we believe in diversity and equity and inclusion.
Right.
And I wanted my office to reflect that. 93% of my agents are of color.
Mm-hmm.
And we are truly one of the assets for Morris Park. I hope they see us that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What great words. How do I unpack that, right? So let's talk about inclusion first, right? A lot of people don't know this, but in the 50s, there was redlining, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was actual, within the realtor codes, about not mixing different races, not bringing different families to different. So this is 1940, 1950. We're only 70 years ahead of that. You know, for before it was written before. Now it's not, but you know, in today's world, we see it with the last presidency. We saw a lot of flare-ups of racism and stuff like that. How do you feel? I see Morris Park is changing, right? There's a lot of
Heavily.
inclusion. Yeah, a lot of inclusion. I don't want to I don't know if it's Bengali or whatever. Down by White Plains Road,
Right.
there's a lot of
the demographic has changed tremendously in the sense that you have Parkchester, which is heavily Bengali.
Okay.
And then you have, it's funny that one street divides, you know.
Yeah.
And on the north side of White Plains Road is very Arabic and Yemeni.
right Yemen. That was the
Right. You go up a little up the block and it's very Dominican.
right.
And then you go up the block a little bit and it's Albanian, you know. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like I don't want to call it a melting pot because we still keep our identity. We are a mosaic and everybody keeps their own identity, yet we are one. We are Americans and we are New Yorkers
Yeah.
and we all live by and grow together.
Yeah.
So that's been our MO for the past few years.
Right.
Talking about inclusion, Omar, it's a very good question. Inclusion is something that real estate has struggled with in the past few years. The terms gentrification, the terms moving out, being pushed out of a neighborhood have been used. The NIMBYism is very active, and 1968, the Fair Housing Bill was passed. But still things did not change. We're still in the process of making those changes. We have a lot to accomplish.
As of recently, as of like 2 years ago, they
Exactly.
they enacted the fair housing. Was it the two? No, it was diversity and sensitivity for the continuing ed.
Right.
Right. That's 2 years ago.
The Fair Housing Challenge is three-pronged. One, they want you to you want to take the Fair Haven simulation, which is truly an eye-opener. It will guide you and lead you, and it'll help you identify your own biases that you may have. The unconscious bias is extremely important. Not only is Fair Haven important, but also there is something called unconscious bias training. And that training is important. And also there is At Home with Diversity certification. These are the three things, and that's what we've been pushing for, because fair housing is something that's ongoing. It's a journey. It's not a destination. So I believe that this Fair Housing Challenge is going to really help realtors educate themselves so we can better serve community.
Has this been something that you've pushed as the current serving president?
This has been a platform before I came in. I took on the platform and I took it a different turn, and I'm the first South Asian president for Hudson Gateway, and DEI is predominantly one of the core values at Hudson Gateway, and I'm honored to be a part of that DEI process. And however, doing the Fair Housing Challenge is one thing, but actually making that an impactful personal character trait in everything that you do, that's the more important thing. It's not a certification that sits behind your
on a
name,
shelf, right?
but it's something in your daily practice.
Correct.
Because we are not keepers of the door, we are door openers.
Right.
And I believe that.
Right.
In my presidency, I've tried to push that tremendously. The professional code of conduct, the code of ethics, the pathways to professionalism, completing the Fair Housing Challenge, because we want to be a professional organization. We want to be a group of realtors that are known for integrity, for their code of ethic, and for being inclusive in everything that we do. So that has been kind of my MO.
Right.
I'm still on it. I still have,
a lot of work to do.
a lot of work to do, but we are moving forward. And the membership has reacted very well.
Okay.
And they are taking part in this training, coaching, and they are doing what is expected of them. But most importantly, it's not just a certification. It's a pattern of progress.
Yeah.
So if you have to blend into that pattern, you really, really need to incorporate those things into your daily practice.
Right.
Discrimination is innate. Discrimination is something that we all have in us, and I think we have to be very cautious and careful and make a deliberate attempt to work with our own biases.
Right. I believe in the continuing education. It says that racism is America's original sin.
Correct.
Which is crazy.
It is.
Which is crazy because nobody came here owning anything. Everybody came from somewhere else.
Correct.
Right. And how do you create that type of that class system?
That's $1 million question.
Absolutely. And you're the guy I need to answer.
I'm gonna try, but here it is. It all starts with us.
Yeah.
It's one person at a time, one brick at a time. At the granular level, we need to be making changes. How do we deal with people? From the moment somebody walks into the office, the way you greet them and the way you treat them. And we must have standard operating procedures in the offices so that everybody's treated equally.
Treated the same, right?
Equal opportunity service is extremely important as well. And I think we think one way, but we act another way.
Yeah.
We learn something, but putting that into practice is very difficult.
And the crazy part is that, some people, it becomes subjective almost, and it shouldn't be, to your attitude for the day. Like if you've had a bad day, you go to predisposition, biases, and then all of a sudden nothing matters because you're upset. And going back to what you were saying about professionalism, and it's what I try to tell my team is like, you always have to be professional. Even if you disagree with somebody, you got to stay professional. And what I've seen is, and let me be very candid, and unfortunately if I get a little pushback on this, the cost of entry into real estate is not a big deal. All right, so I have my BA from NYU. I don't need that. you have to be 18 and take a 250-hour course and you're in. So understand that there's a lot of education that you're trying to disseminate, because some realtors, they have education. Others, they don't know any better, and they just coming because they can make a lot of money. Right. That's all they care about. I want to make money. I want to make money, and I get that. But you have to. It's the way you make money, also, right?
Right. I mean, it's not always transactional. If your focus is only transaction, then you have forgotten the people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's people over projects, not projects over people.
I agree.
And the threshold, you're right, is low. And for any other given field, you have to do X number of hours of internship or flight time or courses.
Mm-hmm. Or education, college.
Right.
Yeah.
And to some extent, Hudson Gateway, our education component is very strong in the sense that we try to bring everything to the forefront. We try to give it to our membership at large. Not only understanding how the market is changing, but also how to adapt to that market and how to be professional and really create those pathways to success for buyers.
Yeah.
The key component of what we do is creating access to homeownership. Mm-hmm. Access to homeownership is something that has been defined in many ways by many individuals. For me, it's very simple. If you want to qualify a person, and if you want to work with a person, you'll find ways to help that person.
Right.
It's not something that people always come in with a 700 credit score or with 80,000 in their bank to buy a home. There are often times where they are less qualified. So how do you work with them and how do you set them on a path to success? What's the path forward? And I think that's where the professionalism begins, because that's beyond transactional level of just dealing with people.
Absolutely.
So people first, homeownership is on the forefront of everything. Mm-hmm. We believe that's going to build generational wealth.
Right.
And I think some of the minorities and some of those less empowered communities in the society have been delineated, sidelined because of their lack of resources. And
I would say access.
Right, and I think that's something that we are working very hard now to change.
Yeah, I like that. I think that certain minorities, they find their way. Others, and this is not a shot at anybody in particular, others because of, sometimes the family, sometimes the immigrants, they come and they have a certain way of thinking that's instilled in them. That no, just do this, just do this, just do this. Were you the first homeowner in your family? Because I was the one to break the curse with my family. I was like, look, I'm going to go buy this. And my mother was like, well, what about me? I was like, let's go buy this together. And then that's how I started, right? Like there's always somebody. Were you the first one, or did your parents, were they homeowners? Because it creates a pattern.
Right. My parents were homeowners. We had multiple properties. I wasn't the first one.
But that means you get to accelerate further.
I really want to focus on generational wealth here, and the resources. There's a lot of research out there that talks about there are people who don't have access, as you said, and resources on the other hand. And I think if you bring those two together with the realtors actually pushing the agenda, I think there's going to be a monumental change in homeownership platforms.
Absolutely.
Number one, I think in the next 10 years, they say 70% of buyers are going to be either Hispanic or of Latino backgrounds.
Well, we are the majority in the country.
Exactly. And so that's something that we have to work toward. Alternate credit scoring patterns are important. At the national level, at the federal level, we are fighting for the Fair Isaac. Yes, it works for some, but there are 70% of your disposable income is going towards paying bills and paying rent in New York City. Yeah. And that should be a part of a calculation where
you should get credit for that.
Absolutely. And that is going to change the whole housing scenario, especially in the tri-state area.
Yeah. I do a lot of foreign national loans for people that are not foreign nationals because they have no credit. And that's the program we can put them into. So going to access, just finding a way, being with a professional that will tell you, hey, you don't fit traditionally, but we can do this. And clients, once a client trusts you, and they kind of like giving you that responsibility. Right. You'll guide me because I don't know what I'm doing. Right. I just need to know how to get this done. And you're the professional that I'm choosing to hang my hat with and make it happen.
I want to digress and real quick give you a very short snippet. A single mom walked into my office 6 years ago, and she said, I have 30,000 saved. I'd like to buy a house for my 4 kids. And we had to set her on a path, create a plan for 18 months and say, we need to save X number of dollars. Your credit has to be so much, and we'll try to see what we can do. Today, she's a proud owner of a single-family detached home in Yonkers.
And that happened recently.
It happened recently.
Good for you.
And for me, that is what
That's the win.
Realtors are all about.
Yeah.
That is our calling. That's our mission. That's our platform.
Yeah.
Helping people build bridges to where their goals are so that we can be conveyors of that dream.
Yeah. I do a lot of content, and I think recently I put something out. I don't know if it came out yet. I think instead of like what I've been doing, so I'm an investor. I do private money lending. I have multifamilies and stuff like that, and I'll document it. And I'm putting that out because I feel that people they tend to seeing is believing, right? So I'm like, hey, look, you guys can do this too. This is what I did. This is how I did it. I'll map it out, and I kind of show it to them so that they know, it's not some mystery. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, there's no secret door you go through the back. Like, if you can do this, you can make this happen.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in showing because I can't be preachy. It doesn't work for me. Like, if I'm like, hey man, you should do this, and they're like, hey, whatever, I don't believe you. I'm like, look, I did this. And even when I teach my own kids, I'll do it. I'm like, listen, it's done already. Then all of a sudden they get reinvigorated. They're like, oh, if he did it, oh, I have to do it, right? I have to do it better. So that's kind of like my model lately. I know that, and again, this is not anybody in particular. My major issue has been with some real estate agents is that they're not owners. You cannot preach it. You don't own a 70-unit building. You can't tell me what cap rates are. You can't tell me about cash flow. You can't tell me about deferred maintenance. How are you going to teach somebody? That has become my personal kind of gripe with certain realtors. Not bad. If you're honest about it, you tell the guy, I haven't done this yet, but I see it and I'm like, dude, how are you going to put this guy in his house? He doesn't qualify. He's barely qualifying. God forbid the boiler goes wrong. It's not even just about qualifying. It's about sustainability, right? You gotta look, man. You can afford this. Like in banking, the fact that you qualify over somebody over untaxed income, over tax income, to me is the biggest hypocrisy of them all, right? Like I make $120,000 a year. Yeah, you really make 80 because after 40 is taken away for taxes, but we're qualifying them on 120, right? So that's become my kind of juxtapose of my kind of beef recently. So I've taken it upon myself to kind of document what I'm doing and kind of putting it out there, not in a boisterous way, in a way of, hey man, I'm nobody special. I'm an immigrant too. I mean, I came from Puerto Rico, but I feel like I'm an immigrant. My family came, my mother didn't know English. She was on, welfare. She got a job. She pulled herself up. She made sure I went to school. Then she made sure I went to college. When I went to college, I understood how the world works, not just the neighborhood, the world and the mechanics behind big finance and things like that.
Right.
So I share that story because I want people to know that, even where you start, you can't control.
Right.
Where you finish, that you can't control.
Right. And it goes back to my earlier comment about it's people over projects.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's not a transaction. It's not a closing. I think it's you're building the bridge to their dreams, and you are the conveyor of that dream. And that is super important. In real estate, and especially at Hudson Gateway. One of our core values is integrity, professionalism, and respect. And we've been pushing that all along from a 3-year strat plan. We just in the third year right now. We'll be coming up with another hopefully next year. But integrity is not just in the transaction as a person as a whole, from the details of dealing with people to details with paperwork and the entire transaction, and that has to be done professionally. And that's what we've been pushing for. And we are beginning to see some results. We are the second largest association in the state of New York.
Who's the first?
The first is Long Island Board of Realtors.
Okay.
And then, we co-own the One Key MLS, which is
Right.
the 5th largest MLS in the United States.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing that we all are working in unison and united to make our regions more people-centric.
And I see you guys are trying to penetrate into Manhattan.
We are
Right.
trying to penetrate into Manhattan.
Right.
We do have some offices that have signed up with us.
Okay.
I think the whole realtor concept and the code of ethics and the pro standards is something that some people do not swallow it well.
Okay.
And so it's like they don't want to be under a jurisdiction. They don't want to be under a code of conduct. And we understand that, and this is not for everyone.
Right.
But at the same time, the number of resources that we can share, the number of resources that we all can collaborate to better serve our people is tenfold.
Right.
So you're missing out on that tenfold by not being a part of a board, by not being a part of an MLS, by not being a realtor as a whole.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. I'm a member of HGAR. I'm not going to tell you, I don't know when the last time I went to an event, but I'm going to one on the 20th.
There you go.
Yeah, I've like that. I'm holding myself accountable, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a member, but I've never gone to one event. I'm trying to make myself more involved, not for anything in particular, but just because if I'm a member of something, I really got to kind of taste it, touch it, feel it to make sure it's the right fit, right? That becomes the thing. That's the one thing I became aware of recently, where we all own our own businesses, right? And who we affiliate our businesses with is really important. So like originally I was a member just for the MLS, right? Like everybody else. But then I started seeing, like you said, you guys do give a lot of information, services. I almost joined your leadership thing. I was gonna, but I was like, oh, I'm too busy, but maybe I'll do it again. But you guys offer a lot.
Yeah. Hudson Gateway is not just the MLS. I mean, there is more to it than
that's
the MLS,
what I was saying,
in the sense that we are a group of realtors that are focusing on creating vibrant, inclusive communities. And that's the end goal, and in doing that, there are multiple angles to it. Realtor education, we do have a very strong advocacy platform where we are advocating for Realtor Pro policies, trying to network with people who are housing centric. So just those two, I can talk hours about it,
right.
Just that. On the education side of it, we have multiple classes that are available where people can take them online or in person, however they want. It's very, very, they can adapt to the schedule.
It's absolutely a resource.
Right.
Yeah.
The most important thing is we are very strong on our professional standards as well, because we do expect a code of ethic, and we do expect a code of behavior, we do expect a code of performance in serving people, and that's, at the end of the day, we are here to empower, to educate, and to serve.
Right.
And so that's the three legs that we stand on.
So you're serving as of January to when?
December.
January to December, so a few months coming up. What have been your passion projects over this year, if you don't mind me asking?
Right. When I became the president-elect the year prior, it was, the pandemic was just kind of ending. And
right.
so I said, my platform is to re-energize, to re-engage, and and to renew. That's
right.
important.
Right.
Whenever we miss that boat, sometimes we keep doing something so many times that it becomes a chore,
right.
as opposed to a passionate thing.
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to re-energize and re-engage. And one of the things that we have pushed very hard this year is to make sure that the pathways to professionalism, the code of ethics, the pro standards are constantly on the forefront. On the flip side, the Realtor Political Action Committee is something that I'm very, very passionate about. Without that legislative advocacy, I don't think we would have gotten the essential worker status.
Right.
We would not have gotten the unemployment benefits.
Right.
We would not have the state and local tax repeal. There are several items that we are fighting for. And it's not only to support realtor-centric policies, but also homeowners. At the end of the line, Realtor Political Action Committee, we call it RPAC, that's the bottom line.
Right.
And that's what protects our business and our clients, homeowners, home sellers, realtors, and the industry as a whole. So that is something that we have been pushing very hard this year, because we are neither red or blue.
Right.
We are the purple.
We're realtors,
and we support candidates who are pro-realtor, who have a heart towards building home ownership, access to home ownership, reducing taxes, creating an alternate path for credit, etc. So that's something that we have pushed very hard this year.
Okay. Have you seen some results?
Yeah, we are very close to achieving our national target this year.
Okay.
And hopefully, I still have 90 days to go, so it's not done until
I'm still
it's
working.
done.
I'm still working.
Yes, and I keep saying, contribute, invest. It's not, you're not giving a charity. You're investing in your own political
in your interests.
base.
In your interests.
And I still 90 days to go, and I'm not done yet.
Do you feel so you touched base on something before in terms of some people don't like to adhere to a code. Mm-hmm. What is your experience been with people like that?
Omar, this is what I believe. I truly believe that there is freedom within boundaries. You
Okay.
know, when there are boundaries, you know what to do, what not to
You
do.
know what lines not to cross.
Exactly.
Right,
You know,
absolutely.
and that really it empowers you. So in other words, to say boundaries are empowering is actually the truth.
Right.
As much as it sounds like an oxymoron. Boundaries empower people, and now you know what to do, how much to do, how not to do.
You know where you can go, where you can't. Right,
Yeah,
right.
you know, so, and also when you have boundaries, you can always say, why am I here? What am I doing? As opposed to, why should I be here? Or why should I not do what I want to do?
Right.
So you've kind of put yourself in a situation where you are following a certain code of conduct, a code of ethic, and professional standards, and that's important.
Right.
I think
Well, the question, I know that's important. The question is, when you meet people that don't really resonate with that, what do you do?
I flash the product. I flash the product and I say, this is who we are. This is what we are doing. Would
Yeah.
you like to be a part of it? There is no sales pitch. It's about
Right.
attraction.
Right,
You know,
right,
and
It's conviction,
and
right.
they have
You
to
believe
believe.
in it.
Correct.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have to
absolutely.
believe that this is something I want to be a part of.
Right.
And also there is the other political angle where people don't want to be caught up in a stream with every other brokerage that's out there. And some of them have their own feeds. Some of them have their own networks. Some of them have their own listing systems. That's fine. But at the end of the day, what would you gain if your client had the access to 40 properties as opposed to 4 on your feed?
Yeah.
And they can go all over. You know, post-pandemic, we all have seen that people have left Manhattan and to buy purchase properties up in Orange and Sullivan, Westchester, etc.
Greenwich. Yeah.
And Greenwich,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
know.
That
So
was a big place.
you don't have that access, but then you have to see a public portal to do that. However, you have a portal here that you have all the access, all the information, and a brother or a sister, like a co-realtor, to help you. Why would you not want that?
Yeah. And again, I'm not pointing fingers, but there's a lot of talk about that for the Bronx realtors. A lot of the Bronx realtors don't pick up the phone for their listings and stuff like that. Have you encountered that during your professional time?
You know, I haven't actually.
Okay.
You know, maybe because I do business in the Bronx. You know, there is a delay sometimes.
Right.
But I haven't seen a lot of realtors not picking up the phone.
Yeah.
You know, it all depends on how you handle that situation with the other agent. You know, so
I think it also depends on a lot of work ethic, because some people say, you know, I called once and he didn't call me back. I'm like, you call once?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
you should call once every hour. I mean, obviously, maybe he's doing a show. Maybe he's doing people are
Right.
busy. They're not just sitting by the phone waiting for you to call. Like, you
Right.
know, but again, it goes back to, I mean, look, what's the attrition rate for realtors?
it's high.
Right.
Yeah.
In the 90s, in the
Yeah.
90% range. So people come in, they have this expectation everything's supposed to roll over, the door's supposed to open, the money just shovel it into your account. And then they understand it's relationships, it takes time, and it's a lot of investment without return for I would say for first couple of years.
Right.
I think that's the part, because, you know, when the interest rates were 2.5, everybody want to be a loan officer and a
course.
realtor. It's fucking easy. Now, oh my God, 7%. Oh my, it is what it is. Look, when I got into it in 05, rates were 9%. Like, you know, they went, I remember when 4.875 was like the greatest thing ever.
Right.
And then it went down to 2.5 and it stood there for like 3 years. I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Right. Well, I put it this way: there are a lot of $20 bills in this world. Some of them are fake, but most of them are not. You know, I use a $20 example because you know, there are a lot of awesome realtors who are doing the job. You know,
Right.
and I love them. That's my family. You know, we try to grow together. We try to learn together. We try to earn together. You
Right.
know, so yeah, there are some bad actors out there, and hopefully, you know, they'll weed themselves out.
Right.
It's only a matter of time before the universe talks to them. You know,
Right.
so. Going back to the attrition rate, yeah, in the industry there is an ebb and flow for any industry. You know,
Right.
so, you know, people they think they can just get a license and make, you know, a few $1,000s right off the bat.
Oh,
It doesn't work that
$250,000.
way.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna make $250,000 this year. I remember in 04, 05 when right before the bubble burst. You know, people were house moms, were realtors on the side because everybody qualified. I remember that. Like, there was no down payments. There was it was bananas, and then everything hit the wall, right? And then everybody ran away, and then I started seeing that again when rates were in the 1.99, 2.5 range. Everybody was a loan officer. Everybody was a realtor. Oh yeah, I'm a realtor. I'm gonna do that because everybody qualified. And in 4 or 5 months, You've seen it. I mean, we haven't seen the drop off yet, but I'm starting to see all the wholesale banks leave because there's not enough volume, or the volatility in the market's not there to support. So that's, once you have less places to sell something, there's less people that want to sell it because it gets hard. It turns into a job.
Right. You know, and also I want to speak for, you know, the realtor family and also the supporting actors in that game. Attorneys and inspectors and, you know,
Title
loan officers,
companies.
title companies.
Yeah.
It's so creative how we all have survived the pandemic. Closings in the front of, you know, front lawn.
Parking lots.
In a parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, just incredible, you know. So that level of resilience, you know, is something that speaks for our realtor industry. You know, they haven't given up. They all could have said, oh, whatever, I'm going to walk away. People were doing virtual showings. They would go into buildings with masks and gloves and
FaceTime.
hazmats, you know, and FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks for what the realtor code is, you know. And I think this industry is going to definitely grow, get stronger. You know, it's only a matter of time. And our commitment to fair housing is something that speaks. We are intentionally learning and growing and trying to be as inclusive in everything that we do and as diverse in our thoughts. Everybody has a place at the table. Every voice will be heard, and every opinion is counted. And I think, I don't know if there are many industries out there that are being voluntarily subjecting themselves to something like this, and we are. And I think
Not voluntarily. Usually they're forced because of an incident.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that's a sign that this whole industry is going to be very glorious one day.
I mean, I think it's glorious now. Let's be honest. It's not bad. I think the more people that get involved with passion can change. And I think as we ascend individually and we lay out the map for our brothers and sisters to follow, I think, to me, that's the way I see change. Right? I feel that, you know, because, you know, on social media, you have so many people claiming this, claiming that, and then you dig a little bit and it's not what it's supposed to be. And I'm like, guys, you know, look at who you're listening to. First of all, some things don't apply to you. I mean, if you're a single mother and you need somebody to help plan it because you don't, you know, you have your life going on. You got to figure out, you need a professional kind of guide you. And the fact that you do 2 or 3 year plans with your clients is a testimony to you, because most people, if you're not qualified, they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I've seen people, you know, they come in, I don't know where to start. I was like, well, just look at this, do this. This is what you would need. This kind of, are you anywhere near that? No, that's where we need to start being.
Right.
All right. Like, if you had this right now, you could do this.
Right. You know, the general public, the buyers, our clients, you know, they need guidance. Yeah. And they need a plan. They need support. They need a professional to guide them. And I think we are doing that as a whole. There are some who follow the plan and some who don't. You know? And then again, you know, we can be held accountable for someone's failures, you know, or not following the plan. So, in a nutshell, realtors are really pushing the envelope for home ownership across the United States, especially in the Hudson Valley. I am truly proud of them.
Yeah.
I am. Oh. I think it's important to recognize our people, because
you see the whole gamut. You see Long Island, you see the Bronx, you see Upper Westchester. You said there was some relationships in Portugal earlier.
Yeah, Hudson Gateway. We have our global council is extremely active. You know, we won the Gold Award last year from the National Association of Realtors, and I hope we get Platinum this year. I'm putting it out there. So yes, and we have partnership with Portugal, and we just did a trade mission to Portugal, and then we visited, oh my God, I can't even tell you. We saw mixed use, we saw commercial, high rise, low rise, we saw single fam.
So you're saying there's a lot of investment from America and Portugal right now?
Yes,
really?
Yes. Okay. You know, the whole digital nomad concept is intense. You know, and we went to Lisbon, and then we went to a couple of other places. Then we went to Porto, and we've seen developments in the city, around the city, outside the city, far away from the city, close to the city, and it was just intense. And you can see the number of foreign investment going into Portugal. It's intense. Right. But the same way, we also participated at MIPIM conference, which is in Cannes, France. This is like 30,000 vendors from all over the world come. Okay. And we were there. We had a platform, and we had a presentation at USA Pavilion where we showcase Hudson Valley, the biomedical facilities, and how Regeneron has done tremendous amount of work. Who's next? Right. Who wants to come and build a plant here? Who wants to come and lease out, I don't know, a few thousand square feet or build a plant? That's important. And so we are showcasing that because without foreign direct investment, the Economic Development Council's work is limited.
Right.
So we are taking that to the next level as well. So home ownership at the single individual front, at a familial unit.
Right.
But also we're taking the whole demographic of our business investment that's available to people outside the United States.
Office buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because Hudson Valley has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And it's the financial center as I see it.
It's a big space.
Yes.
It's a big space.
And there is a lot of work that can be done here. So we're taking that as well overseas.
You want to always have, look, New York real estate is one of the safest investments, right? That's where a lot of people from overseas invest their money here. And the fact that you're going the other way also, trying to send money over, is an incredible testament to your trade association. That's what we call it, right?
Trade association.
Yeah, trade association. Because most of the time, I've noticed in my experience is that it's always usually one way. I want. And then they never give. And I'm like, I run my business on the opposite spectrum where I give. And if I get, that's cool. But I'm going to get anyway. I really believe that. That's just, my thought pattern. I don't believe that it's not going to happen because I believe I'm good at my job. So, when you have value, you don't worry about that stuff.
Right.
The fact that you guys are giving is a really big thing because most, from what I've seen, and when I say that, I stand here as a company and a man who gets solicited a lot to, donate or this. We want this or we want that. And I'm like, what are you doing with it? What becomes the question. It's incredibly murky because sometimes you can't get an answer, and that's troubling to me because I'm an entrepreneur, and where I apply my money matters to me, right?
Of course,
So
yeah.
The RPAC, honestly, great investment.
Tremendous
investment because it on a state level it protects our interests. The fact that we can do business this way right now is incredible, and the fact that you have to protect it.
Correct.
Is another thing because they're always trying to, like the banking industry in 2008, they got super regulated. Dodd-Frank, this, that, I'm like, and it drove a lot of people out of the industry because it just got to be too much.
Right.
And I know that they were talking about doing certain things on the real estate end. And do you want to open up about any of that restrictions they're trying to do?
Us not, the realtor world not being classified as essential workers was...
that shut everybody down from
that was crazy,
Yeah.
And I'm glad RPAC was there and we fought for that, both at state and national levels, and we won that classification, People were fleeing from one location to another location via realtor.
Right.
How could we not be classified as essential workers?
How are they going to get there?
Right, exactly. And the state of emergency that they've posted, it's still on as we speak.
There's still no cold calling, right?
There's still no cold calling,
Right.
and there's still no prospecting. You can prospect, but no cold calling.
Okay.
And so that's something that we sought to leverage as well.
Okay.
But the most important thing is unemployment benefits, state and local tax repeal, alternate pathways to credit scoring. These are some things that are super important, and I don't want to name names, but at the state level, 421A is dead, sunsetted. So we talk about affordable housing, and you have Article 13, and it's like nothing is happening, So when you look at that, you want affordable housing, but you don't want to create a pathways because you assume that
somebody else is going to do it.
Is going to get rich, of that tax benefit.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. And
It's tough because it's all perspective.
Right.
Right. One class will say no, they're benefiting. The other class is like, well, I'm doing the work that nobody wants to do. Right. Who else is going to develop this?
Exactly.
Right. Because it's money. Like they don't understand the hundreds of millions of dollars. Whether you get tax benefits or not, you have to put money up to get this developed, and everything has to go right. Right. Like the iron has to go up, the concrete has to go up. The cost of all materials has quadrupled during these last couple of years.
Right.
They have to understand that, and that becomes almost like an us versus them mentality.
Yeah, and the whole concept. I think you read my October article. I haven't published it yet.
I haven't read it yet.
You're asking me questions from my article.
Okay.
It's like, let's look at Jerome Avenue rezoning.
Yeah.
R7, everything is R7, R8, R9, and I'm thinking it's incredible. Do we have the infrastructure to do that? 4,600 units coming up, and that's fantastic.
Well, stop right there. Just for the audience to know, Jerome Avenue was heavily auto body shops, just let's say industrial, and it got rezoned to residential. So if you owned before it got rezoned, you hit the lotto. I just want to let people know like that what that really means, all right? Because that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's
thank
a big
you.
thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for.
I'm here to translate.
Yeah. So, and I see that R7, R8, R9 zone. It's a beautiful mixed use, 4,600 units. So let's say you have 4,600 units, and each family is 2.5 or 3. That's 15,000 people
that have affordable housing now.
And I look at Burnside. I look at Burnside in the Bronx, where you have this beautiful gardens, etc. And I'm looking at the infrastructure. Where are these 15,000 people? What are they going to go? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about parking? What about
open air?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how is that going to work out? You know, I think there's a huge infrastructure question that's burning right now in New York City, especially in the Bronx. You know? And you have the Fordham Landing coming up, RXR. You know, and they're doing a big project over there. And as I can see, Bronx is definitely going to be on its way up.
They're moving. Yeah, they're moving certain pieces around the Bronx. They have the Metro North coming through, and Pelham Parkway is always in construction. Yeah, it's forever. It's forever. I just whatever. I have 2 of my sons went to Fordham Prep. I used to go that way every day for 8 years. It was never not under construction. And I went by there the other day. It's still in construction. So I don't even know what's building over there, but it must be good because it's always under construction. It's like a decade of construction. And what people have to try to understand is that the infrastructures are built to help move us around easier. The open spaces are there for you to have an entitlement. If you want to go outside and just look at grass and not smoke in a bus fume, that's because it's funny. I know you laugh, but it's funny. Like I grew up on 186 in Jerome, right, which is the hood. You know, Walton High School. Shout out. And then I moved to Pelham Bay, which is a little nicer because the park wasn't far. And now I live in New Rochelle, where my backyard is a golf course. It's a totally different experience. And what people have to understand, like they might think it's not important, but it is. It is important to have a space that you can go to and not have noise. You know, how you can, they say calm your mind. And I mean, I'm not gonna get into mental health. That's a whole different conversation. But all that ties in. All that ties in. How about the Hunts Point, all the different tests they did out there, the high asthma rates, the high this, the high that. People don't understand why. I'm like, look at the trucks going through your system every day, my man. Sure. It's not that hard to understand. Right. But you have to put a little bit of common sense to it. And now all of a sudden there was rerouting and stuff like that. But if we don't have people defending us, because look, if you're, and I use this term, I got this term from Adolfo Carrion. If you're off equilibrium, if you're never like at ease because you're working in a deficit, which a lot of us coming immigrants from from other countries are. They they barely know the language. They're just trying to make it. They don't have time to do that. So in essence, us being at a little higher of a level are almost become like their keepers. Like, hey man, you don't know this is important, but this is important. Yeah. One day you'll know this is important. We're telling you it's important now. And we don't want to get tax abatements to developers because all they do is this. Where else are you gonna live? Right, like it becomes like you said, the less of two evils. Like we don't want him to get free tax abatements. All right, but who's going to build it? The city. The city's not a contractor. Right. The senators are not construction workers. Realtors, like we're not going to get shovels and pick. Like we don't know how to do that. Like you have to work with specialists that know how to do this. We can plan it, but the execution it takes a special sort of skill, right? Yeah. And that's I wanted to touch on that because I hear. It depends on where I'm at. I'll hear a different conversation about it. And, oh, no, F that. And I'm like, F what, bro? Like, what's your plan? All right, what's your solution? Right. And they're like, I don't have. Well, then. Right. Then what are we doing?
Yeah, you're right. One of the things that we oppose is good cause eviction. And, there are a lot of evictions in the Bronx. And there are a lot of, I don't want to take sides, but I want to talk about the mom and pop property owners who have 2 or 3 family, 4 families.
Right. That was
And
squeezed during COVID?
Squeezed during COVID.
Absolutely.
And then,
Absolutely.
there are tenants who are not paying, that's an issue, whatever the reason might be. Everybody has their own legitimate reasons.
And unfortunately, let me cut you off there. Most of the guys in the Bronx are just scamming the system. My opinion. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. It's not his opinion. I'm politically incorrect. He's politically correct.
The ERAP and the ETAP, programs that they created was okay. It's a one-time thing.
Right.
But some of the landlords got benefit of the ERAP. However, that program has ended. The money, the funds are
Money dried up.
The coffers are dry.
Right.
So now, what happens? Still they have to pay property taxes. Still they have to maintain those things. Still they're going to have HPD inspections. Still they will get sanitation tickets. So these are some ground level, grassroots level issues, and we oppose good cause eviction.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because that's going to hurt the system as a whole. From a big picture, if you pull back and look at the forest and not the trees, I think the system is going to corrupt itself if we let good cause eviction pass through.
My personal opinion, in the Bronx, it's the hardest place to get evicted. My personal opinion. I know a lot of lawyers. That's what I'm saying. Brooklyn, Manhattan, you'll be out of there. In Bronx, you're good. And no police officer ever wants to get into a case in the Bronx. They fight jurisdiction. The Bronx is a special place. It's fun. Bronx for the people, baby. It's for the people, and I proudly come from the Bronx. I wanted to say that. All right, so this is your last year. You have 90 days to finish. What would your legacy be? What do you want people to remember you for?
I hope they never forget me.
I don't think you'll be forgotten, but you know how we all, all right, so my legacy to my kids has always been, hey man, I tell you how I walk it. I'm not a good example I always use, saying, don't smoke cigarettes while I'm smoking a cigarette. There's that father, hey, never do this. And he's, drinking a beer. That was my father, rest in peace. I walk the talk.
Right.
And what would you want your legacy to be?
Actually, the way the system is set up is I'll be the past president next year.
Right.
There are still some responsibilities.
Okay.
I'll still serve on a lot of committees.
You help to segue the new president?
The segue, of course.
Okay.
Of course. And if there is something that I've left behind is to not just keep your eye on the price. It's not the transaction, it's the people. Mm-hmm. Let's become a people-centric entity, and keep your professional standards up, maintain your code of ethics, and I think that's something that I keep pushing for because that's the fundamentals, that's back to basics, that's grassroots level, that's where we belong, that's where we started.
That's your basis.
Right,
Yeah.
and let's not forget that. Sometimes we forget that and we go into something really big.
Right.
And I think that's important that they remember that, So the purpose behind what I'm doing and my Renew, Re-Energize, and Re-Engage platform is something that's ongoing. It's not something it's going to end by December. It's something that will carry on forever into the future.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. No matter how you paint it, it's still the same thing. So I think that's going to be a legacy that's going to be there for a while.
All right, let me ask you another question. So when you walk into a room, you walked in today, this is our first time meeting, just FYI. It was the first time I've ever met him physically. We chatted on the text, but that was it. Energy. You feel people's energy. Now you're meeting thousands of people now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's your job, right? To meet a lot of people. When you walk into a room, how can you, do you know what I'm talking about? You walk into it, you feel like it's going to be receptive, it's going to be powerful, It's going to be collaboration. Sometimes you walk into it and you feel like, oh, okay, it's a little weird here. Something's happening. There's a tension in the air. How do you read a room like that? And this is not just HGAR. This is life because
I am a people person. I
can tell.
Yeah, I can go into a room and I just
that goes without saying.
People.
All right.
I talk to people, and I hope it's not about breaking the ice or disarming the people, It's just be yourself, be natural, be normal, be pleasant,
I think, but that comes with confidence, and I think confidence comes with experience, right? And I think, and this is my personal, and please, if you have a different opinion, please voice it, because I'm very strong in my opinions. I feel that the people that have accomplished a little bit usually tend to be more outgoing, more I'll help. The most successful people I've ever met, the chairman of American Express, Bernard Arnault, I can go on. Just a lot of people. They've always been the coolest people to me. They've always been the nicest. They've always been the most, how pusher, hey man, you should do that. Whereas sometimes you go into your own circle of friends. I'm talking about when I was young, you know, and from the neighborhood, and they're like, oh, you could never do that. And then, you know, in retrospect now, I'm like, yo, man, like, I want to be like those people. Like when I talk to people, I always give them, you know, good advice. Whether you work with me or not, it's cool. I'd love to be your guy, but if not, that's all good. I'll be fine. How do you, because the other part becomes when you have people reach out to you, because I have it all the time, and they're asking for advice, and you give advice, but they don't execute, and they hit you back in 3 months. So lately I've been saying, hey, I gave it to you. Going back to what I said, I gave you the blueprint. There's no special like shortcut. You have to do the work. The work you cannot lie to. You can't cheat it. It's like saying, all right, so I recently I've lost 30 pounds so far. I'm going to 40, right?
Congratulations.
It's hard, thank you. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Make no mistake, right? But it's something I wanted to do. There's no cheating that. There's no cheating that. The camera won't lie for me. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else is waking up at 5 a.m. to work out like I do. Nobody else is my wife is, you know, counting my food. She cooks for me, but nobody's doing the work. And this is what the part I try to get to the young audience. I'm like, because the prime audience is expecting to order something on their phone and get it to their door in 2 seconds and not understand, well, why can't I do that? Well, I'm like, because you don't have the experience. Well, why don't I have the experience? Because you haven't done the work, right? How do you convey that? Because now I know you're talking to peer-to-peer. We're talking about professionals, people in our age demographic. We kind of respect it. People come, like I consider myself an immigrant, even though I came from Puerto Rico. I understand how special it is for me to be where I'm at and where I'm going, and how the odds were so stacked against me. The problem has become, I see, where the new generations that have lived here, that know the system, that have gotten the education, that you know, mom and dad have sacrificed for them, and they have this form of entitlement. How do you convey that message to them?
That's a very broad stroke question. I'm going to narrow it down into two levels. Level one is, let's talk about people first. You know, there are people, you will always find people who will not agree with you.
Right.
And they may have a different point of view or opinion or path.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know, as people, if we can all accept one another, I think that's important. You know, I don't want to have this Dalai Lama-ish statement saying that we all should accept one another. No, and I think it's about, you know, I think we should start with acceptance and not start with tolerance. You know, I think people get so bent out of shape because somebody disagrees with them, and they become keyboard champions, you know, and they start pounding others. And I really find that this stays
write that down. Keyboard champions. I like that one.
Champions, you know, and they just, you know, and they rage a war from their keyboard.
Right.
And because there is no persona on the other side, you know, it's a virtual avatar, you know, and I think that group that feels a sense of entitlement is because they don't see the person. They only see the event. I think we should go beyond the event and look at the person. Why did this happen to this person, and why did this person say what they said? We're not going to get into the psychosemantic discussion here, but at the end of the day, if we can accept one another and accept one another's thoughts respectfully, and that would be the first step towards being diverse. You know, not just going with everybody thinks like me and I'm, you know, and you have this mean girls pack. You know, it doesn't work like that. Right. We have to have people who, with all kinds of opinions, dissenting and agreeing opinions around the table, and continue to serve one another. And I think that's more important, you know?
I think the service unto others is very important that you said that. And I think it's super important to be of service to people. And I think if people will be more of service or of value to others, I think that would change the world.
Yeah.
But most people are self-serving.
Right.
And I think that if this conversation can spark any idea within everybody watching, it should be that if you be of service to others before yourself. I think there's a quote: if you cannot serve, you're not fit to lead. If you're not, something like that. I messed it up already. Something like if you're not humble enough to serve, you're not fit to lead. Something like that. I think that's what we're missing, because I think everybody wants to be the CEO of their own bedroom, and nobody wants to actually do the work. And I think that's where we're having a big disjoint. Like there's a very big disjoint in America right now. There's the people that didn't want to go back to work because they wanted to follow their passion. And now they got hit with inflation in the face, and they're like, I got to work 2 jobs because they thought, right, because what I believe what the pandemic basically did was it coddled a whole generation. Oh, there's a pandemic. Oh, we get free money. Oh, we don't have to save the money. Let's spend it on whatever. I'm not going to say because I don't want to highlight things. But, and then now it ran out. And now inflation's here. And now interest rates are higher. And now people expect to go back to work. And now I don't want to. I want to follow my passion. Well, your passion's not going to pay the rent. Like, your passion to me can be done on your time. But your passion should be pursued after your obligations are met. And I think that's the big disconnect I'm having with people.
Yeah, I see your point, Omar. I know one of the things is you have to lead yourself first before you lead others.
Absolutely.
You know, and that leadership is innate. That's internal. You know, you have to have that down set before you actually venture out and do anything. Number one. Number two is the sense of entitlement that's there with some of the folks now is because of bad role models. You know, there is a huge media influence on taking something that's bad and glorifying it.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
and giving it wheels, you know, and giving it color and dimension and giving it an avatar.
Accelerating it, yes.
And people are buying into that.
Yes.
And I think we have to be very careful with that as to what we let garbage in, garbage out. It's age-old saying, but that's a fact. That's a truth.
Right.
That's the second reason. The third reason is their role models are falling every day. And every time the role model falls, the person who is following that person falls.
Right. The dominoes fall.
Exactly, because that's your only continuum that you're on.
Right.
You know, so it is who you are. Number one, leading yourself. Number one, and making sure that you have the right role models, you follow the right role models, and that you have a goal and a destination in place. People do what they want to do just because they don't have a goal and a dream.
Right.
So let's create that dream.
Right.
The path forward that we work with buyers when they come in and they say, I want to buy something, and they're not ready. We give them an 18-month, 24-month plan.
Right.
As you said, some follow and some don't.
Right.
You know, and if they don't follow it, that's their falling.
That's why they're not buying.
Exactly.
Right. That's I tell them the same thing. I gave you the plan, right? 24 months. You didn't execute. Let's start again, another 24 months.
Right. And, you know, going back to the single mom with the 4 kids in Yonkers, you know, when we started showing her properties, she would be there 15, 20 minutes before we got there.
Right.
And she was ready, she was willing, and she
excited,
and she saved money, and she had her MO was just on point. Right. And I think people without a dream will perish. Yeah. And they don't have a vision in life. You know, where am I heading? What am I doing in the next 5, 7, 10 years?
They start becoming stagnant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so inertia.
Yeah, you have to work with purpose. Correct. I think purpose drives us all. And I think, well said, because as on the other side of that spectrum, when people retire, that's when you start seeing things happen because their purpose is changed. It's that they don't have their driving factor anymore. And now they kind of lost, and then things start happening because I feel once you lose your purpose, it becomes different. So if your purpose is really big, you'll never be tired because you'll always have more work to do.
True.
Yeah,
true.
More work to do.
So, you know, I don't have much time to watch TV these days, but I watched this Netflix series where there was this guy from Nepal who wanted to climb, I don't know how many number of peaks in the world, 14 or 16 or whatever peaks.
Okay.
Is a mountain of gods, I think that's what it's called. And, you know, he got very sick after the 7th or the 8th, and then his family started questioning him
if he should do it or not.
Yeah. His doctor cleared him out, but his head was not clear. Right. But he had a goal, he had a passion, he was moving forward.
It drives you. It draws you. It pulls you.
Correct.
It pulls you.
Correct.
Right.
You know, if you have a vision and if you have a direction and a purpose, it'll permeate through all of your pores. Right. All of your being will push toward that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And your purpose is to re-energize,
Re-engage. Come on.
I messed up. I'm sorry.
Renew, re-energize, and
re-engage. Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, Anthony, in summation, you're leaving in 90 days, but you're never leaving.
No. Hudson Gateway is my home.
I'm glad to make you, hopefully, as a friend, and we'll do more stuff in the future. I'll be there on the 20th. I'll have a booth that'll say, ask me anything, and we'll have the cameras there. It should be exciting.
And I'm going to be shameless, and I want to say you should invest in RPAC and become a golden platinum.
Golden member?
Yes.
All right.
You should.
I'll do it. See, you got me already. See, this is why I don't take interviews with Anthony. You got me. Okay, I'm in.
All right.
I'll do it tomorrow or today when I get home. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you hosting me and bringing Hudson Gateway front and
No,
center.
absolutely. Do me a favor, though. Speak to the camera And where can the people find you when it comes to real estate or anything? What's the best way to contact you?
Right. I can be reached at, I'll give you my cell phone number. I don't know if that's the norm, but I'm
Go
going to
ahead,
give it
man,
out.
go ahead.
It's 646-696-1563. And you can always reach me at nycanthonynow@gmail.com. And just Google me, you'll find me. First 20 pages, okay?
Wow.
But the best part about it is I'm here to serve you. I'm here to guide you and lead you. If you have questions, reach out to me. Buying or selling, call me. You want to become a realtor, talk to me.
Anthony Domathoti, he says it all, man. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
I appreciate that.
No
Thank you
problem.
very much.